page article in the New York Times, an above the fold picture, color photograph of men prisoners in Malawi's Maulo prison, which is in Lilongwe. And it showed these prisoners stacked like firewood, head to toe, sort of laying side by side. And the photograph itself was just such a shocking depiction of the overcrowding in that prison. And the article itself talked about not only the severe overcrowding that existed, but the fact that Malawi was that there was a movement to train paralegals who could go into the prisons and work with the prisoners and educate them about their rights. And there were interviews with Malawian prison officials who were very forthcoming about the fact that there were terrible conditions in the prisons, that they were completely underfunded. So I was struck by the sort of the openness that the Malawian government seemed to have with regard to these violations. It didn't seem like it was trying to cover them up. And when they talked about the involvement of the paralegals, I thought that if paralegals could do something to improve the situation, then there might be a role for law students. We would go with a group of students and work with both the prosecutor's office and the public defender's office to identify cases of what they call homicide remandees. These are pretrial detainees facing homicide charges, because these were the men, mostly men and some women, who had been in prison the longest, some of them, up to 7 to 10 years without ever seeing the inside of a courtroom. And the backlog was so severe that the courts just couldn't keep up. And they had no access to lawyers. Nobody had ever talked to these guys. So that's what we did. We went to Malawi, and one team went and reviewed the case files in the prosecution's office. They read witness statements, they read confessions, they examined the files to see if there was any forensic evidence, and then they wrote up legal memoranda based on their assessment of the case files. And then they provided those recommendations to the prosecutor for his review. And then the team that worked with legal aid went into the prisons, interviewed the prisoners, and then provided memoranda to legal aid. And based on that work, we were able to get about 25 people out of prison.
It's a very good project. And we think that as Northwestern University comes, apart from what else they are doing with us, they will help us in building that local capacity. And one way that this could be done is, as suggested by Professor Babko, that if there's a local legal clinic at the university, then there would be interaction between that local legal clinic with the legal clinic in Northwestern University. And that would go a long way in building local capacity, so that should, at any point in time, Northwestern University feel that, they may not be able to sustain the trips coming here and so on, locally there will be solutions they found, and they'll carry on the job that would have been done by Northwestern University.
There have been a number of initiatives, brilliant initiatives that have started, but because they have not been sustained, to some extent it's a waste. Mm-hmm. Because all that effort then just goes. When you can't institutionalize it and make sure that it lasts beyond your living.
Right. If we can help to train some of the students who are then going to go into work with legal aid.
Exactly.
Because they go to legal aid, yes, and they don't get any training there.
No, they don't. The thing is, and that's it's a very general problem. We have discussed this as well.
And especially, I would like to get them into the prisons, meeting the
yes,
prisoners, because
yes,
I feel like once you see them as people.
That's right, yes.
Then you can develop the passion.
And when they come back, they're different. To that extent, because you actually absolutely have to be there to see it with your own eyes. You can't you can't substitute that. You can't do PowerPoint presentations that tell you how it is to be in prison.
Right.
To be there, I keep telling them to go into Zomba Central Prison, the smells, the sounds, the noises. You then realize this is a world. You construct a full world in your mind. These are not abstract entities. And the passion, yes, you get driven because you realize that these are human beings in a particular real context.
Yeah, I think that for me the hardest thing was talking to the prisoners because their stories are really hard to hear. I'm probably gonna cry, I'm sorry. Some of them. They have stories that are really hard to hear. And they're in really terrible conditions. And it's really heartbreaking to hear the things that they tell you, and you know, they want desperately to be out of there, and they don't know why they're there, and they don't know, why they can't get the help that they need. And it's hard to hear that, and it's hard to have someone sit there and look at you and look so heartbroken, and ask, why can't I just leave here? I had a man tell me, I want to go to trial. I would rather just be convicted of a crime I didn't do just so that I could start my sentence. It's been really intense. It's been hard sometimes. We've had some days that were really rough emotionally. But it's been really exciting too, to be here and to be able to actually see your work product sometimes go through. Today we are turning in our bail applications, which is kind of the final culmination of everything that we've been working on.
So tell us about getting the news about the guys being out.
Well, we just got it from Victor that, because I'd emailed him, he told us the bail applications had been granted, but we hadn't heard that they'd actually gotten out. And so I just emailed him to say, so, what's happening and have you followed up? Caroline and I emailed him at the same time. And so he responded to both of us and he said that they're out. And even the guy whose sureties were living, 4 hours away, I don't know how they got in touch with them.
That's
no
fantastic.
idea how they did it. But they're all out, and then he said that Foster, the guy who was beaten by the police, that the prosecution had finished presenting their case and that he had been granted bail as well.